So I'm back in the beautiful hills of Tennessee. I'm in the Appalachian region of Tennessee, North Carolina. I'm in Greene County right now. We're actually moving from here back to Gatlinburg this week and back to the Smoky Mountains, the land I love. But I found this, one of my favorite flowers, Lyre-Leaf Sage, Salvia lyrata, just growing in this field right across from our house that we've been living in. And as you can see, it's just this big, untouched, pristine field right up against the Appalachian Range. And it's just the best picking spot. I've kind of been dreaming about this all winter. And then last night at like midnight, I heard them start to hay the field. And I just shout out the window, "Murderers!" I didn't do that, but I said it. I always say that, actually, when I see a mower, "Murderers!" So, I knew if they didn't finish haying the field, that first thing this morning we were going to get out here and harvest what we could salvage of the Lyre-Leaf Sage. They did get 99% of it, but there's still some of it that we can go ahead and pick. So, we just got back from a 3-month work trip to the Houston area in Texas, and this was all over the place in April down there. So it was growing right along with the famous Texas bluebonnet. So it was beautiful, like this blue purple mixed with this periwinkle color, just fieldfuls of it. It was absolutely beautiful. And then we kind of got into a drought down there, and it all just died right away. And I was only able to pick a little bit, kind of just like half a gallon probably. Enough for teas, definitely not enough for tinctures. And I do tincture this fresh, so I definitely needed to get back to where it was growing. I knew that it would be progressing as we went north, and I got home and it's just right for picking, maybe even in a week too late. Some of it's gone to seed, but it's perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and pick what we can find. And I have done a video on this before, but that was like the first year that I learned about it. That was several years ago. So since then, the Herbal Quarterly magazine did a beautiful article on this a couple years ago, and they did interview me for that. And I didn't know why the interest in Lyre-Leaf Sage, and they said it was, they saw the video that I had done prior, and they said it's really neat to find that a couple of herbalists around the country are still using this, because this is really like a throwback plant. You don't really find information in this about this herb in the more modern books. You could probably find it in some of the older books, and of course like passed down from grandma, great grandma, that kind of thing. But you really don't hear about it much, but I think it's making a comeback, and it's probably one of the top, I'd say top 3 plants that I use. So Lyre-Leaf Sage, Salvia lyrata. I also use goldenrod a lot. I use usnea. But I'd say my favorite combination is Lyre-Leaf Sage and goldenrod, and I use those two because they're toning and astringent, but not harsh. So anything that you find yourself like watery eyes, drippy nose, post-nasal drip kind of thing, a sore throat coming on. Like if you have itchy ears and you're like, oh, I feel a sore throat, it's probably going to be a sore throat bite tomorrow. I'll go ahead and start taking Lyre-Leaf Sage and goldenrod tincture mixed together. And sometimes I mix things in there like balsam poplar, usnea, red clover, other things that might be supportive to that. You could add this into your elderberry syrup if you make homemade elderberry syrup. But it's in the Salvia family, so it's got the square stem, and it's a little bit fuzzy. Let me see if I can scooch my way up this way. This is actually a really good specimen here. Okay, so it's got these long tubular, like a periwinkle, like a light lavender color flower, and they don't, it's interesting how they just go straight out horizontal. Do you see that? They just kind of bloom around this stem in all 4 directions in a horizontal way. And this is one that's already lost its flowers, and this is developing the seeds down here. So sometimes you'll just see a whole seed head that looks like this. So here's one in flower, here's one in seed. Let me see, I can show you the lyre leaf, the lyre shaped leaf. which it's named for, because that's going to help you identify this plant also. So here is the leaf. It has hairs along the stem here, the stem and the leaf, the back of the leaf. It has strong veins. It's deeply lobed, as you can see. Sometimes this will be a purple color. Let's see if I can find one that's a purple color. Not right here, but it'll have this shape, it'll have this flower, and this will just be completely purple. Now if you find it in an area that's mowed a lot, this will be completely plastered down flat to the ground because it's adapting to that mowing area. And it's just like dandelion does, it grows really flat if it's a mowed area. If it's not a mowed area, you might find it big and abundant and just bursting out like this and nice and really tall. So the size varies based on what's going on in its environment. But it likes big open fields. It likes sun, mostly sunny. And you'll find it along roadways a lot, but just be careful, you know, if it's a busy road, I wouldn't get anything from there. But if it's like a secondary road, a backcountry road, I wouldn't mind getting it from there. But if you can find it in a big open gorgeous field like this, all the better. And in the same field is growing a lot of plantain, sheep sorrel, red clover, hop clover, yarrow. So that's why I like to come in not just the deep forest, but also open fields, because it's a whole nother ecosystem where you're going to find treasures. I mean, they're still treasures just because they're not woodland plants. People sometimes don't think just to go look in the horse pastures or the hay fields. But so what I do with this is like I said, I dry it for tea. You can dry it and store it. It does lose some of its potency. I would never store it more than a year. And if you can use it within 6 months for tea, all the better. And if you want to store it indefinitely and make sure it's not losing its potency, definitely tincture it, and tincture it fresh. So you would let's see, we had a quart. I'd just pack it, chop this up with a knife or scissors, pack your quart jar 3/4 full with fresh plant material, and top it off with 80 to 100 proof vodka. It's not a wet and juicy plant, so 80 proof probably would work just fine. 100 proof probably wouldn't be necessary on this plant. But yeah, and just let it sit for 6 weeks, shaking it, making sure the plant material doesn't go above the liquid. Keep that submerged, and then you can strain it and have really good medicine pretty much indefinitely. Just store it in a cool, dry place, and you'll have good medicine. So also another thing you can't see in here, but this will have each of these has 4 seeds in it. So if I were to open this up, there's 4 little green unripe seeds in here right now. Those will turn black and hard. And if you were to store a bunch of these seed heads when they were nice and ripe and dry, wait for that time, you could put them in a paper bag and shake them really hard, and they'll all sink to the bottom, and you could gather up all the black seeds from there and either just broadcast them out and replant them, or you can grind those up and use them. Say you had to boil a splinter, a piece of glass, something that you need to draw out. It makes a really good drawing agent. So again, this plant is very astringent, which means toning and drying. So it could also be used for mild cases of like diarrhea, things like that, maybe mixed with blackberry, which is more astringent. It works on warts. If you wanted to make a little paste out of this and put it, or even a salve, it heals very well. So topical use would be applicable as well if you wanted to do an infused oil out of this. I would use semi-dried plant material. Go ahead and make yourself an infused oil. I also have videos on how to do that, and use it in a healing salve, or something where you needed, it's also very antimicrobial and antibacterial, so something where you would need like an antibacterial if you had an infection or were trying to avoid an infection. So just lots and lots of uses on that. My favorite use, I'd say, is anything, like I said, allergies. This is one that I mix in with the red clover, nettles, elderflower, and Lyre-Leaf Sage. And I also add If it's a tincture form, I also add goldenrod to that, and that is an excellent seasonal allergy tonic for you. That's going to help just take care of all those symptoms. Anyways, I think I hear the hay guy in the distance. Murderer! No. But anyways, yeah, he started haying this field at like midnight last night, and I was kind of freaking out because we had big plans on harvesting our Lyre-Leaf Sage. But anyways, we're gonna get it now, and I just wanted to share from this beautiful location one of my favorite plants, and hope that you can identify it and pick it and use it and enjoy it and teach about it. It's not an endangered plant. It's, you know, extremely abundant, and will remain so because it's the way that it propagates by seed that way. So yeah, just enjoy it and get to know it and pass it on. Thanks for watching.